Look at the markets. Thank you for staying with us on the Trading Bell. Joining me now is Samuel Gichohi. He is the Head of Business Development at NCBA Investment Bank. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
So as always, we're going to take a look at the numbers. And what do you think about the turnover so far in the week?
Still lackluster, really low. I think yesterday, for example, was terrible. I think it was 67 million or something, so thereabouts. Today we were doing around 316 million. So again, very low turnover. It points towards the apathy in the market at the moment. We've been in a very long bear market, so investors tend to get exhausted at some point. Wondering when do they start seeing returns on the investments. We've also had very low foreign investor activity on the market. In fact, over the last week, they've been net sellers. So when foreigners are net sellers and the locals, there's low liquidity. And on the other hand, we're in the period of reporting for the fund managers. So those are off market right now. So it means the market is really, at the moment, very, very slow and very quiet. Hopefully, as October comes to an end, then we have the deadline, the 3-month deadline for the quarter reporting, the third quarter. So that means we should see more activity coming in, because then we start seeing any results that are yet to come in being done, and that sort of excites the market as the investors start to see information on how the companies are faring.
So essentially, the bear run is still going strong. And we were also looking at some of the gainers and losers. You said none of them really stand out this time around.
Well, I wouldn't say the bear run is still going strong. That's a bit of a tough word for it.
Okay.
I think it's now getting to that level of it should start to recover anytime soon.
Okay.
Because we've been in it for a while. Bear runs don't last that long. We've been in it for over 13 months, which is normally the sort of length you see in a bear run. So I think we are towards the end of it. Regarding the gainers and the losers, that again shows you the sort of market we are in. You don't see any of the usual suspects, the Safaricoms, the KCBs, the equities. You don't see those on that board. So you see the Everreadys, the Crown Paints, which are really very low, small cap companies, none of which I think will appear on the NSE 20 on the index, the companies that are used to calculate the indices. So generally that just shows you it's a really illiquid market at the moment, because then most of the big players are off market.
Okay, but when it comes to movers, of course, Safaricom is still going strong. We've got some banks in there as well. Absolutely,
because when foreigners are selling, they tend to buy stocks which have good deal sizes. So they tend to buy the Safaricoms because they also have certain deal sizes that they look for, and only a few companies, the blue chips, tend to have those sort of deal sizes. So that you'll find it's the Safaricom, KCB, BAT, EABL. Those are the companies that will tend to be movers, because then they have the sort of volumes that they look for.
Okay, so a lot of insight on the numbers. Thank you. But let's take a look at some of the, more pressing stories that have been taking on during the week that we've seen pop up, including the one regarding the SGR Phase 2A. Of course, now from Naivasha and Nairobi, there is the active SGR. A lot of people are talking about the debt factor. Of course, 150 billion is what that cost, billion shillings. And we're just wondering, is it going nowhere at the end of the day?
Well, I think my concern would be what's in it for us, or what are we doing about it? Because the debt is already there. There's not much we can do about it. We've got to pay it. So I think focus should now shift from how much debt we are in to how do we pay this debt. Because if, for example, right now there is very low liquidity in the SME and in the private sector, really. So the private sector is squeezed, because now the development has happened, and you look at most of the GDP growth in the last 2, 3, 4 years has been government spending. Now it needs to shift to the private sector. So we need to start thinking, what are we going to move on that SGR back to Mombasa? Because if everything is coming in, then we become a net importer, which means more money is going out anyway. But what are we moving back? So I like the fact that we are now seeing, for example, this year, our exports to China increased by something like 60-something%, which is a good thing. It means we're exporting more. I've seen that we are talking with Japan. I saw the president had a discussion with the Japanese Prime Minister on how we can improve that. Because then if we can get those products like the avocado story and all those products that we can start to export, add value, do more in industries, then the SGR will make sense. If we don't start talking about that and keep whining about the debt, we are in trouble, because then we'll end up not being able to pay it.
So to shift our focus.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, but you mentioned something about SMEs as well, and a lot of these come from the informal sector. And this week we also had the Carry Tax Summit, and it was 2 days. They're talking all about the fact that, you know, they're trying to simplify the process of for taxpayers, and digitization taking over as well. But something that really had been a point of contention earlier on was the fact that the business community was decrying the fact that Carry needs to refund them, and that was quite a bit of money. And after, you know, a lot of pushing and pulling, they were supposed to refund about 14 billion at least to the business community. It was supposed to kickstart or at least create some movement in the economy. What do you think would the effect be if Carry were to, you know, in totality, keep on refunding?
Well, I think the bottom line is the processes, and that makes the summit very important. And with the line of thinking is actually key. Because look at the Huduma Center thing, for example.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's very easy to get a replacement for your ID, because that has been digitized. You're looking for a birth certificate. It's very easy to apply. Your driving license expires. Actually, there's a time I got caught by a cop. My license was almost expiring. He told me, and all I did was go on the system, print it, and I was done. So I think the processes that KRA has, especially even for those refunds, they really need to be checked, because the more you have, you know, a process-heavy system, means that things go very slowly.
Yeah.
Your ability to collect the taxes is hampered. Your ability to to even educate the taxpayer is hampered. People don't know what they should be paying tax for. A lot of SMEs and, you know, people at that level of Wanjiko don't know. There are certain things they're being told they should be paying tax for they never knew about.
And the percentages and all of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So if these processes were streamlined, a digital system was brought in, the public was well educated, chances are then we would collect more. People, the refunds would go back into the system, more liquidity. SMEs are suffering, especially now that KRA has clamped down on tax evasion.
Yeah.
Then they need to refund the ones, you know, to whom it's due, so they have some money, you know, to do their business. So I think it's something that's in the right direction. Yes.
All right. Okay. Well, on that informative note, we're going to take a look at Markets 101. Well, it's time to get into our question on the street, which comes from you. And we've got a text in from Katana from Western, and he's asking, can I trade as an individual in the derivatives market? So I'm going to let Samuel Gichohi answer that for us.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Katana. Yes, the derivatives market is open to any investor, including individuals. And you just need to approach your broker and make sure it's one of the brokers that are trading on the derivatives market. Because you need to have already an account with the broker, and then there's an agreement that you sign so that you can participate in the derivatives market. And of course, you need to discuss with your broker the sort of margins or the amount of money you need to deposit as a margin for you to be able to trade in that market. Thank you for your question.
All right, well, on that note, we're going to take a look at the NSE historical facts. And that brings us to the end of this episode of The Trading Bell. Of course, I want to say thank you so much to Samuel Gichohi for joining us and for all your insights.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure.
All right. And of course, we were earlier on talking to Mike Rabar of Homeboys, and we have so many such discussions every Thursday night right here on The Trading Bell for you. So make sure that you tune in next time around and stay with us right here. My name is Malika Kazia. This is